What if I told you that a billionaire, yes, a man worth billions, was seconds away from losing everything because of a single wrong formula on a paper? And what if I told you that it wasn't his team of advisors, scientists, or investors who saved him, but a young waitress holding a tray of coffee? Stay with me till the end, because this story will shake your heart. And don't forget, hit that like button and subscribe right now so you never miss such powerful stories again. The grand ballroom of the Hilton was filled with the intoxicating buzz of wealth and ambition. Crystal chandeliers shimmered above polished marble floors, and laughter mixed with the clinking of champagne glasses. Every table was adorned with velvet cloths and golden candle stands, because tonight wasn't just any gala. It was the night billionaire Adrian Cross was about to sign the deal of a lifetime. The $100 million agreement with a group of foreign investors was not just business, it was a symbol of his empire's dominance in the world of pharmaceuticals. Cameras were already waiting outside, journalists preparing their headlines. Adrian Cross expands his legacy. Adrian sat at the head table, his signature charcoal suit pressed to perfection, his salt and pepper hair slicked back, his jawline sharp as though carved from stone. Around him sat his closest advisors, men with heavy watches and heavier egos. They had spent weeks preparing the contract, running through calculations, formulas, and technical notes that only a handful of experts could even understand. But amidst the crowd of tuxedos and diamond necklaces, one figure looked entirely out of place. A young woman weaving between tables, balancing a tray of drinks. Her black and white uniform was plain, her shoes slightly worn, her hair tied back in a loose ponytail that revealed the sharp intelligence hidden in her brown eyes. Her name was Emily Carter. Emily had been working double shifts at the hotel for months to pay off her late mother's medical bills. She never complained, never sought sympathy, but she had one gift that nobody knew. She had once dreamed of being a scientist. She had studied chemistry at university before life's cruel turns forced her to drop out and take whatever work she could find. Tonight, fate had placed her in this room, surrounded by men and women discussing formulas and compounds that once filled her notebooks. As Emily approached Adrian's table with a tray of wine glasses, her ears picked up words she never expected. A formula is ready for patent approval. Once the deal is signed, distribution begins worldwide. She froze. Her eyes darted to the stack of papers laid neatly in front of Adrian. One formula, written in elegant blue ink, was visible at the corner of the contract. And in that instant, her heart dropped. It was wrong, terribly wrong. Her mind raced. One miscalculated ratio, one incorrect placement of molecules, and the drug wouldn't just fail, it could endanger lives. She blinked, her breath quickening. Surely, she thought, they must know. Surely his advisors weren't blind. But the men in suits were nodding, smiling, raising their glasses as though victory was already theirs. Emily's fingers trembled as she placed the glasses down. She told herself to walk away, to mind her business. Who was she to interrupt billionaires sealing a $100 million deal? A waitress with no degree, no authority, no power. But then she remembered her mother's face, pale and weak in a hospital bed, whispering, "Emily, always choose what is right, even if it costs you everything." Her pulse pounded. Adrian reached for his pen. Cameras flashed. His hand hovered over the dotted line. And that was when Emily leaned forward, her voice soft but sharp as a blade. "Sir, that's the wrong formula." The table fell silent. The investors exchanged confused glances, technical discussions, and slowly, realization dawned. She was right. The blood drained from his face. His entire empire, his reputation, his billion-dollar company, was hanging by a thread of ink. The investors shifted uncomfortably, their smiles faltering. Adrian's chest tightened. He looked up at Emily, really looked at her for the first time, not as a waitress but as the woman who had just saved him from ruin. And in that silence, the night took a turn none of them would ever forget. Adrian ordered the papers to be taken away immediately, ignoring the angry protests of his advisors and the impatient demands of the investors. The gala that had once been filled with laughter and luxury now pulsed with tension. Whispers filled the air as guests craned their necks to catch a glimpse of what had just happened. Emily tried to retreat, but Adrian stopped her with a raised hand. "Not so fast," he said firmly. "You, come with me." Fear shot through her veins. Was he going to fire her, humiliate her in front of everyone? She followed reluctantly as he led her out of the ballroom, down a quiet corridor lined with golden-framed mirrors. Finally, he stopped, turning to face her. "Once you knew," he said quietly, his voice laced with both curiosity and awe. "How?" Emily twisted her hands nervously. I studied chemistry. I was supposed to finish my degree, but life didn't go that way. I work here now, but I couldn't just stand by and let you sign something dangerous." For a moment, Adrian said nothing. Then, to Emily's shock, he let out a dry laugh, not of mockery, but of relief. Do you realize what you've done? You didn't just save me $100 million. You saved my company. You may have even saved lives. Tears pricked Emily's eyes, though she tried to hide them. Until I only did what anyone should do, she whispered. Adrian shook his head. No. Most people would have stayed silent. You risked everything for honesty. He paused, studying her with those piercing blue eyes. I need people like you. What's your name? Emily Carter, she said softly. The name lingered in his mind like a melody. In that instant, Adrian made a decision. The following week, the story broke across every major newspaper, and Billionaire's deal saved by Waitress's sharp eye. Cameras followed Emily as she walked into Cross Pharmaceuticals, not with a tray in her hand but with a contract. Adrian had offered her a full scholarship to return to university, along with a position in his research division. The world called it a miracle. But for Adrian, it was something more. For the first time in years, he saw beyond the numbers, beyond the deals, beyond the billions. He saw humanity, the kind that reminded him why he had started his journey in the first place. At the next company conference, Adrian told the story publicly. Wealth can buy knowledge, he said, his voice echoing through the grand hall. But it cannot buy honesty. It cannot buy courage. Tonight, I honor the woman who reminded me of that truth. Emily stood on stage beside him, the spotlight glaring but her smile brighter still. She wasn't just a waitress anymore. She was the woman who had whispered truth into the ear of a billionaire and changed the course of countless lives. And as applause thundered through the hall, Adrian leaned toward her with a rare smile. Thank you, he said softly. She met his eyes, unafraid this time. Just promise me one thing, never let money blind you again. He nodded, and for once, Adrian Cross, the man who had conquered boardrooms and beaten rivals, felt humbled, not by power, but by a waitress with the courage to speak. And that, my friends, is how a young waitress saved a billionaire from losing everything with just one whispered sentence. Remember, sometimes the smallest voice can make the loudest difference. If you were moved by this story, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories like this, because, you never know, the next one might just change your life too.